talk. I'm glad to see all of you. As you know, we have 3 of our professors here today who will give you wisdom seeds on how to succeed in graduate school. And you know the questions that I sent out on the flyer, what graduate students need to know that is not in the curriculum. Who do you learn the most from? Where do you go for help regarding your graduate program? And Professor Denzel, Professor Jacob, and Professor Borchedy are featured today. And in a few minutes, I'm just going to turn it over to Professor Denzel to start off. But I want to give you these announcements. From the Department of Politics and Policy are beginning an informal brown bag workshop series this semester. I'm sure you've gotten an email about it. And they asked me to announce it. The schedule is starting next week, February 25th. And again on March the 19th, April 15th, May the 6th. And I'm sure you've gotten the announcement. We'll tell you it will be from noon to 1 in McManus 35. So make sure you mark your calendars and look out for that notice. If you don't have it, just email me and I'll make sure that you get it. The other announcement I want to tell you about something new, we just scheduled this. Sumi Lee has started a SPE graduate student colloquium, which is going to start on Friday from 12 noon to 1:30 in Berkeley 14. I will be sending out that announcement as soon as I get back to my desk. Puspa Amri and Brett Coker are going to be the first students who are going to talk on the political economy of financial sector supervision and banking crisis, a cross-country analysis. And they're preparing this talk for the 8th International Workshop for Young Scholars that's going to be in France next week. So I will send that announcement out. By all means, make sure you support that. It ought to be really interesting. That's Friday coming, from 12 to 1:30 in Berkeley 14. Professor Denzel.
Okay, I just want to say that the attempts by one graduate student to basically sabotage the whole affair by giving me hot salsa has been unsuccessful. But I will be consuming it at home, where I can deal with what it generates for me. Thank you very much, Sandra, for pronouncing my name correctly, like my colleagues. So, it's all been, let's see. I've known Tom B. for 28 years now, I think. 38 years, sorry. The decades just passed by. And, good. Now, who do you learn the most from? It was one of the questions I came up with, and I realized this pretty early, that people you're going to get the most time from, who have the most motivation to learn the materials you're trying to learn, are your student colleagues. They are facing similar situations. Some of them may have better backgrounds in some of the areas than you do. You may have better backgrounds in some other areas. Trying to take advantage of that different comparative advantage can really pay. And they're easier to find than the faculty usually. And very simply, forming study groups, getting together to prepare for ugly things like mid-course correction, settings that some people, nastily call tests, quals, and so forth. Study groups help enormously, and trying to cooperate can help a great deal. Competition and cooperation are both essential, not just in human life, but in the economy. Who matters in your career? What happens if 10, 15 years down the road, you basically are in a situation where you want to get out, or the people employing you want you to get out? What do? You need a job. Best way to find a job and find information about them is going to be, again, the people who sit next to you in class. 15 years from now, they're going to be in jobs. They're going to be in situations, in some cases, running search committees, being chairs of departments, and very simply you've been a really unpleasant person competing by razoring out the articles in the library, or making it impossible for people to find certain materials for class, this could be a problem. The way they view you, your reputation, goes with you, survives. I have not seen a student here who was regularly called ratfink by the other students, but you don't want to go down that path in terms of the way they view you. Networking is really valuable in any setting for getting jobs, getting all sorts of opportunities. Knowing that the other students value you as a sensible person can help you a great deal in your career. Not just when you're trying to get through a test or a qual. Okay, now, we've gotten rid of the students. Who else matters when you're trying to survive graduate school? Well, gosh, most important people you're ever going to meet in graduate school for an immense variety of reasons, immense variety of problems that you face, things you need to get done, things that may be worth a great deal to you, are of course the staff. Whether in a normal department, which has undergraduates and graduates, the graduate secretary, the department secretary, the school administrative assistant, these people are very important to you. And the phrase I was suggested to me by somebody I was told I should tell this phrase was, as close to goddesses as you'll ever meet, okay? These are very important people because just the craziest situations can happen, especially when male egos get involved. And I was once looking for a job. I was at Virginia Tech on my first job, which we were leaving, and I was doing an interview at Arizona, where eventually I went, but I was also invited to go to Illinois, University of Illinois, and so I suggested why not make this a triangle trip. So fly to Tucson, interview in Arizona, fly up to Champaign-Urbana, interview there, and then go back to Virginia. Save everybody some costs. At least I thought that would help the guy at Illinois. I asked up front, okay, Arizona said, bring your wife, bring your son. My son was 3. We didn't want to just leave him in the wild mountains of Virginia alone, so I'd asked to bring him to Arizona.
Yeah, Bay Areas.
Especially where we were. I mean, worse than Charlottesville.
Yeah.
So I tell the guy in Illinois, he agrees, no problem. And then after I've turned down their offer, and I'm going to Arizona, I then find out from the check that they send that they're not going to pay for the airfare for my wife and my son from Illinois. But they agreed to it. What do? You know, the foolish person would say, find a lawyer. That's crazy. Find a secretary. The department secretary knew what this person had agreed to. I contacted her. Phones worked in those days, even though it was a long time ago. And very simply, it took him about 2 weeks before she basically convinced him it hadn't happened. Basically, she shamed him regularly. It was very simply getting things done in all sorts of dimensions, just understanding what you need to be doing to get a degree, other than taking some classes and so forth. If you don't know how to read, and admittedly, you know, you shouldn't if you want to become a tenured faculty member. So if you don't know how to read, you've got to ask somebody who knows. Other students probably know as little as you do about the process. Talk to the people who know what happens, not the faculty. Faculty not just forget, but they never learned it in the first place in many cases. So basically talking to your departmental secretary, talking to Sandra is probably a safer bet as to how to actually navigate the processes at times, and they usually can find us if you have to find a faculty member anyway. So it's